Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan from the Hyperpigmentation Clinic. I'm a doctor, but I'm also a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of colour. So a very interesting topic has come to light, and the question is treating hyperpigmentation the same as colorism? And I did actually a whole video on colorism with Anshul, discussing my views on colorism. But this question, I feel like we need to address head on because there seems to be some confusion, even down to the ingredients. So let's start off by defining what is colorism. Colorism is when people from the same community treat each other differently based on the color of their skin. That's the definition of colorism. Now, I actually did a poll months ago before I did my podcast with Anshul, asking you, have you suffered from this in the past and which community you're from? And predominantly, I saw that this was an Asian issue and predominantly in females. It does happen to men too, but just from our poll, again, every time I do a poll, we do get thousands of you responding, which is fantastic. But it is predominantly an issue for the Asian community. And I know growing up in an Asian household, in the Asian community, fair was considered more beautiful. You know, you have fairer actresses. It's something that, you know, your family would even say, oh, she's fair, she's so beautiful. It just wasn't questioned. It was sort of the norm. And you generally don't question much growing up. I mean, you don't even question the religion that you're born into, the clothes you're told to wear, the food that you eat. It's only when you become integrated into society, usually in your early 20s, that you start to read other people's opinions and start to form your own identity and your own opinions. But I do feel growing up, we do take on a lot of what our immediate community are teaching us. I think looking back now, it is obviously ridiculous and laughable, and you know, you just think, why would I even think such a thing? And I actually asked you as well, how many of you have been through the same journey where when you were younger you thought, oh, fair is beautiful and you want to be fairer, and then as you age and you start to become integrated in society and society changes itself, you yourself change your perspective on that topic. And again, thousands of you responded and 90% of you came back and said you changed your opinion, which made me think that there's been a shift in the way the community thinks. I mean, this is always going to happen. Even whatever you believe now, 20 years from now, you're going to have different opinions on those things as well. As society evolves and as the influences on your life change, and as you have more open discussions, your opinions change as well. So I found that really interesting to hear, because I also feel like people's skincare goals have changed. Whereas before they would have said 20, 30 years ago, they would have said, oh, I want to have fairer skin. Now they say, I want to have clear skin, I want to have flawless skin, I want to treat the blemishes on my skin. So even the goal has changed when it comes to skincare in the Asian community. For me, I remember the exact moment actually that I changed my opinion on my skin color and what I wanted to do with it. And I remember I was in Cuba, I was on holiday and I was wearing my bikini and I was tanning. And what I realized is when I tan, my body looks more toned, my abs look more defined, and I just felt more beautiful and I felt sexier. So I remember thinking at that point, oh, this looks good. I actually want to, you know, double down on my effort. So I'd lie in the swimming pool and I'd have double UV hitting my body, which obviously at that point I really wasn't worried about melasma. I don't even think I was wearing sunscreen. It's probably one of my skincare confessions. But actually that's when I changed my mind and I realized actually I look more beautiful when I'm darker. Before that point I'd been wearing lighter foundation than my own skin tone, and so, you know, I even looked ridiculous at that point. So it was a very clear moment for me where I thought actually I look more beautiful when my skin is darker and when it's tanned. And I think this is obviously why the community is now bronzing their skin and, you know, tanning. It's something that, as all of us, I think, have made that transition. So to answer the question, is colorism different to hyperpigmentation? We need to now talk about hyperpigmentation and the definition of pigmentation. Hyperpigmentation happens when your melanocytes have been triggered from any inflammation or any trauma. So this is majority of the time happens from UV, from free radicals, from burns. I always say one scratch, one bite or one burn, and we hyperpigment. So for us, we just need to be very careful with our skin and very educated with what we put on our skin to prevent that from happening. In my opinion, treating hyperpigmentation is very different to colorism. I feel like they're two completely different worlds, two completely different goals. But I'd be really interested to hear what you think. Do you think that colorism is the same as hyperpigmentation? And no judgment from me or anybody else. If that's what you believe, please just write it down below, just so that I get a good indication as to the number of people who feel that way. And if you don't believe it, if you feel like colorism is not the same as hyperpigmentation, can you write that down below too? Just so that, you know, we can all see how many people are thinking different things. I just think it's also very interesting to see what's happening in society. I think further confusion happens on this subject because of the ingredients used. So to lighten the skin, people often use dangerous ingredients, things like mercury or unregulated glutathione injections. Those tend to be the two that people use. But they would also use hydroquinone. So there would be bleaching creams and they'd use hydroquinone. Now, hydroquinone is a very powerful tyrosinase inhibitor. It's my least favorite tyrosinase inhibitor for skin of color because of the rebound pigmentation. And I've done a whole video on hydroquinone if you want to watch that video. But hydroquinone is used as a bleaching agent to lighten skin. But at the same time, it's used in treatments at 2% and 4% in order to treat hyperpigmentation. So there's confusion there. And to be honest, all tyrosinase inhibitors work by slowing down the rate of the enzyme tyrosinase. And tyrosinase is the enzyme that creates melanin. So there's this gray area where there are tyrosinase inhibitors, where some people would use them for skin lightening and some people are using them for hyperpigmentation. So how do you know if the cream that you're using is made for hyperpigmentation or for skin lightening? I think number one, you have to look at the formulation, and number two, you have to look at the purpose. So for example, any product that I have ever made or ever formulated has never been to lighten the skin, ever. Everything I've always made has been to treat hyperpigmentation. So if your goal is to lighten the skin, don't buy any of my products because you're going to be unhappy, it's going to be a waste of your money, and you're just not going to achieve what you want. So for example, my dark circles kit is to treat dark pigmentation around the eye area. It's not going to lighten your normal skin. My lip pigmentation kit is only going to treat pigmentation that's happened to your lips over your lifetime, usually from UV damage, from cosmetics, from burns, from acid, dehydration, etc. It's only going to treat that pigmentation. The lip color and pigmentation you're born with is your normal color. It's not going to lighten that. So that's a really important distinction, because treating hyperpigmentation is only treating dark patches that have happened due to trauma or inflammation. It's not lightening the color of the skin that you were born with. My aim with this channel is to celebrate skin of color. It is my passion. It is what I've spent years of my life learning about, understanding, in order to improve our lives. If hyperpigmentation is something that doesn't bother you, then don't treat it. Definitely don't buy any of my products, don't buy any other products, don't do any other professional treatment, because if it's not bothering you and if it's not reducing the quality of your life, then it's not worth it. Simple. You only do anything to improve your skin if it's really affecting you. Otherwise, it's just not worth your time. I'm in the comments section for 1 hour at the launch of every single video, and this is a really important video and I can't wait to read all of your comments, so please do leave them down below for me. If you've got any other videos you want me to make, can you write them down below for me too, because I feel like I'm really getting through your list of requests quite rapidly. I'm like at the bottom 30% of my list, so please can you give me more ideas. And don't forget to download your free guide. The link is also in the description box below. Bye.